Looking at Zoom's waiting room, that's something you could turn on in your settings, or you could turn it on and off on the fly with a new security button. I'm going to go ahead and enable waiting room. This could be a good feature for someone who does counseling or office hours, but you want to be careful teaching a class because you might not see people waiting. But if you have a meeting coming up where you know exactly who's supposed to be there, then you might be watching the waiting room until you're ready to start. And then you could actually, once everybody's in, you could allow them in, then you could lock the meeting for extra security. But let's see what it looks like when someone requests to join. Notice how it turns orange down here. We hear a ding and we get the option to admit or see the waiting room. But before we do anything, let's add another person waiting. Now you see we have two people waiting. We'll go to see waiting room. Now if you have several people waiting and it's for a meeting for everyone, you could go ahead and click admit all to put everyone in at the same time. Or if you're doing something like individual office hours, you could admit the first person on the list because they show up here in the order that they join. So you could admit the first person. Then you could have your counseling session or advising session. And then you could click more. You could put them back in the waiting room, or you could remove them. I'm going to go ahead and put back in the waiting room, and then you can move on to the next person and tap admit. The waiting room is also handy. Let's say you got a big group of people and one of them is being disruptive and you don't want to completely remove them. You might want to give them a timeout. You could just move them to the waiting room. And then whenever you're ready, give them a chance to cool down, then you could add them back into the meeting.